Before we get going, quick review. Finding out that sigma right there, finding the value of that sigma. How many variables does it have in it? 12 variables? That's a lot of variables. 2. How many variables up here? I just got n, right? Just got n, right? Good, because now as long as I have one variable, I can use the calculator. If it was 2 variables, I have to do this out by hand. So here we go. Let's review. Where do I go on the calculator to get my sigma? Alpha window should be choice number 2. And you don't want to, in this case, I'm using n as the variable. If you want to keep x, that's your call. Whatever floats your boat. Find your loss remote. All right. N equals 1 to 12. Now, here's why I'm doing this and reviewing this with you. Everyone see that set of parentheses you were given? I have up on the board now. You have to fit everything in there now. You cannot go outside this parenthesis on the right and build something else. Here's what I'm talking about. I got 3. Now you just can't build a new one on the outside. I got to build it inside. 2, notice that. Okay, I start building it on the outside, I'm going to get a totally different incorrect value. And then I'm going to raise that to the what? N minus 1 or x minus 1 if you used x. And we all should get 12,285 out. All right. Yes, Dylan.
In the last quiz, sometimes there was like a number in front of the sigma or whatever.
Yeah.
Can you just type that in and then do the still work?
Yeah, still works. Still works. Yep. If there's a plus, like 2 plus, just type it in. Make sure you do 2 plus and then bring your sigma up. Yeah, it works. As long as it's only one variable. Yeah. If I bring in a second one, we got to do this thing out by hand, like we did last week. 12,285. Yeah. All right, good. All right, here we go. Quick question for somebody right now. Not to put you on the spot, but I am. 6. What makes a sequence geometric? How do you know it has an R? Like if I just write, here you go. If I just write out this right now, 3, 6, 12, 24, 48. How do I know that sequence is geometric versus arithmetic we did last week?
It goes up the same.
What do you mean goes up the same?
Every time.
What's it go up by then?
2.
6 plus 2?
Or times.
Thank you. Times. You got to multiply, right? For it to be geometric, arithmetic, you got to add. That's the difference between the two. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to take this geometric sequence, and you're going to tell me what you get when you add up a certain amount of terms. And you remember from last week, I call that a series. All right? Look on your formula sheet right now. They're all in a row. We did arithmetic last week. Yesterday was geometric, and everyone see the one right below that one? Geometric series. Adding up terms in a geometric sequence. Adding up terms in a geometric sequence. So let's write that formula out to make sure we know what each piece means. So the S for sum. First term minus, and I'm just plucking this right off your formula sheet, guys. First term again times the R value raised to the N. N is how many terms I'm adding up. All over 1 minus the ratio, what I'm multiplying by. That's how you figure out what all the terms add up to in a geometric sequence. Take a look at number 2. I am starting to figure out that you guys are not comfortable with the notation, the symbols. So here's what I'm going to suggest to you. It worked out real well last period. Write out the sequence for a couple numbers at least. Write it out, a couple numbers in the sequence, because I think this stuff here bothers you. This stuff here bothers you because you're not really too sure what N means, maybe not too sure what R means, but if you write it out, I think you see it a little clearer. So what's my first term here? First term is 2. If I had you find the next term, what would it be? Given all this information up here. If 2 is my first term, how do you figure out what the next one's going to be? 12?
It'd be 6.
6. How you getting it, Jared?
It multiplies by
2 times 3, right? So times 3, 18, times 3, 54, and so on. I think it's nice that you guys get a visual here of what we're adding up. Okay, so let's use our formula now. Let's use our formula. We see the sequence right now, right in front of our face that we're going to add together. S for sum. How many terms am I going to add up here? I got 4 listed, but the problem tells me how many terms am I going to add up? Let's hear from 3. 10 of them. That's what that n value means. Find the sum of the first 10. Now we're rocking and rolling. Just follow the formula. A1 was 2 minus A1 again, 2. R, we're multiplying by 3. Raised to what? 10, the number of terms we're adding. All over 1 minus 3. And I'm not going to recommend, I'm not going to advise. I'm going to tell you on this one, plug this all in at the same time. Get a fraction template up, plug it all in at the same time. Something will go wrong if you try to do the top first, then the bottom. So get an alpha window or alpha y equals, get your fraction out and type everything in all at once. $59,048. And again, what's this number represent? This sequence, the first 10 terms added up. That's what this number represents. If I added up the first 10 terms of this sequence, that's what I would get for an answer. Questions from you guys? So if you can, write out a couple numbers in the sequence. That's what I'm going to be doing with you again and again. Right now, too. Here we go. So find the sum of the first 8 terms. Don't get confused. I'm adding them up for you. Can anybody take them out and write what the sequence is here? So my first number is 3. What's the next number in the sequence? Negative 12. And then it's 48. And then it's negative 192. I'm adding up the first 8 terms of this sequence. So see how I wrote it out? The first 8 terms of the sequence I'm adding up. Now, I know some of you could just find the pattern and add them all up, and that's fine, but I want to use the formula. So here we go. The sum of the first 8 equals, use your formula off the formula sheet. I'm not doing anything different here. I'm following my formula sheet. 3 minus 3. You guys know what you're multiplying by for that R value? Okay, hey, some of you can. Oh, that's negative 4. If some of you are having trouble, darn it, I gave you a trick yesterday. You take a term and divide by the previous term. If you're ever having trouble finding the R value, look at the sequence, pick any term and divide by the previous term. That'll get you the R value. And I'm raising this to the 8th. Also be careful in the denominator. 1 minus negative. It's not 1 minus 4. That would be if the R value was positive 4. But my R value is negative 4. So make sure it's 1 minus a negative 4. And yeah, you can put plus if you want because you're a stud. Plug it all in your calculator at the same time. Negative 39,321. Questions? Okay, something a little tougher before we get to a word problem. Find the sum of the geometric series. So I know I'm going to go to my formula sheet. But hey, what have I been preaching to you today? Write out the sequence for a couple terms. It's so much easier than dealing with the notation. So first term's 2,000. Anybody going to get me how can I find the next term? Nope, not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. 3 again. How can I find my next term?
Multiplied by 1/2.
Yep. So the next term should be 1,000. Multiply by a half again. 500. And I guess we can keep going, but you can stop there. All right. So everyone see the sequence I'm adding up. Here's the problem we run into, though. How many terms am I adding up, though? 125. No, 125. Oof, I hope not. All right, what's this mean here? That means a random term is 125, and that's what I'm adding up to. So I got to figure out how many terms that is. Now, I will tell you why at the end of this problem, but I will not have you go to the formula we did yesterday and solve for the end value. What I'll allow you to do now is keep going. Keep going until you hit 125, and that's how many terms we're going to add up. So what's after 500? 250, and then after 250, there you go. That's now, Tim, how many terms am I adding up? 5 terms, okay? And I'll tell you why. I'll let you just write it out because you know how much I despise that. I'll tell you why at the end of the problem. So we're adding up 5 terms, and everything else here should be smooth sailing now. 2,000 is the first term, minus 2,000 times a half. What am I raising the half to?
5.
How many terms are we adding? We just wrote them all out. 5 of them. 1 minus a half. $3,875. Make sure we get that on the calculator. I'll wait. Okay, reason why you can list them out to see how many terms you're going to actually end up. Here's why. Because if I made you do this a different way, we'd have to get don't write this down. We'd have to get the formula from yesterday. All right, just humor me here for a second, please. Do you know any term in the sequence? That's not the first? In this one, what was it? Okay, so I plug in 125. A1 was 2,000. R value was 1/2. And I would need you to solve for this n. All right. And I don't know if you remember this from last year, but if you never were taught it, it probably was a disaster. The only way we're going to get that n down and alone is using logs. Yeah, how about those last year? That was a disaster, huh? So I was like, you know what? Let's not fight that battle with you. We'll save reviewing logs for the Regents exam. So just list it out to figure out how many terms. Okay? List it out. All right, because I'm not about to review how to do logs again today. So just write it all out. All good? All right, 2 word problems. One I'm going to do with you. The last one you're going to do on your own. You can read about Paisley and their running plan. Okay. And hey, one thing we got to start paying attention to, because this burned a lot of you, and you'll see it on the quiz when I give it back next week. You guys remember that theater question? How many seats were in the theater? Here's what a lot of you guys did. There was 30 rows in the theater, and you gave me how many seats were in the 30th row instead of giving me the total. Look for the word total. That tells me I'm doing the sum. All right, the sum. I am not looking for how many miles she ran in week 18. I'm looking for the total, week 1 plus 2 plus week 3, etc. So like we have been doing all today, Can you write me out a couple terms in this sequence? What's the first term? 8. She ran 8 miles. All right. Let's talk how I'm going to find the second term. It increases by 5% every week, her mileage. 5%. So I'm going to go back to my calculator, and you guys are going to help me do this. What do I do with the 8 she ran in the first week to find how many she ran in the second week? What do I do with that 5%? Multiple. That would be 50%. 0.05. All right, let's look at that number that comes up. Is that how many she ran in the second week? No, that's how much she increased by. So I still got to take that 0.4 and add it to 8. So here is how much you ran in week 2, 8.4. So 8.4. Let's do one more. How many miles did she run in week 3? What am I going to do with 8.4 now? Multiply by 0.05. That's how much she increased by. So add that to the 8.4. In week 3, she ran 8.82. And we can stop there. All right, you ready to find the sum? Again, I don't care how many she ran in week 18. Don't find that. That's not what I'm looking for. The total. So the sum of how many weeks? 18. Here we go. Help me fill in it. Fill everything in. A1, 8 minus 8. All right, R value. Even if it's not there, even though you can't see it, you know how to find it. You know how to find the R value. Take a term, divide by the previous. What do you got, Nick?
I got 1.05.
1.05. Yes. Take a term and divide by the previous. You get 1.05. What are we raising it to? 18. And on the bottom, 1 minus 1.05. There's rounding directions here. Please pay attention to those. Whole number. $225, nearest whole number. So she ran 225 miles. Before you go to the next one, I don't want you to have to do this to find the R value anymore. There's a way we can get to the R value quicker. What did she increase by? 5%, right? Increased by 5%. So anytime you're dealing with percents, the R value can be found by doing, ready? 1, like 100%, plus your percent as a decimal. Okay, that's how you can find the R value without having to list out a couple of the terms. Now, what happened if she decreased her mileage by 5%? 1 minus 0.05. All right, so that's how you can find the R value here. If you rather list out a couple terms like we did, feel free, but some of you guys, I think you can handle finding the R value doing it this way. All right, so 1 plus or 1 minus your rate. All right, let me see you do the next one. Go ahead. About the fishing. If you feel like you need to write out a couple terms, all right, go ahead. Just make sure you know it decreases now by 5%. It is a big number, so don't get freaked out. Make sure we round to the nearest whole number. Direct rounding directions. Oh, about 1.7 million fish. Any issues? Okay, looks like I think we still got plenty of time here. Fourth period, right? 10:19, 10 minutes. Yep. So we can go right to Delta Math, or you grab a book and finish up yesterday's assignment. Check your answers on Classroom.